and keen follower of God, you almost can tell where he's coming from and where he's going. At this point in the ministry of Jesus, when he was keen to know whether they understood who he is, all right? They have known the man outside, Jesus, the son of Joseph the carpenter. But he was also wondering whether they also understand the man inside. And it was Peter who answered the question and said, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus quipped and said, "Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee." Understanding my inner person, understanding who I am, is not a job, is not a research of flesh and blood. This must be a conversation between you and the Father. However, whenever I don't know how he was able to connect it, but it was, permits me, a vision in a trance, in a sense for me, for him to connect, to see what ordinary eyes could not see. And Jesus acknowledged that fact. Jesus announced that fact, that what Peter announced here was not something that anybody can pick from the terrestrial. This, without doubt, was a celestial information. You must have a connection, a link with the Father for him to reveal it. Please take note of that phrase. Revealed it unto thee. It's an information that is not on the dining table. It's an information that is on the table of the Almighty. Okay? And for me, it was very, very unequivocal about the Father which revealed it unto Peter, the Father in heaven. So there is a connection. There has been a relationship between Peter and the Father in heaven right from this point. And you need to hear what Jesus said next. Now, I read to you, and I want you to follow. "And I say also unto thee, thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." I'm not too sure I have the luxury of time to deal with this aspect right now, but if I read it in the Amplified, maybe it will just give you some light, and I may just go to the next verse immediately. "And I tell you, you are Peter," Greek, Petros, "a large piece of rock. And on this rock," Greek, Petra, "a huge rock like Gibraltar. I will build my church, and the gates of Hades, the powers of the infernal region, shall not overpower it, or be strong to its detriment, or hold out against it." So I may not be able to wait on this verse 18 because of time, the pressure of time, because I needed to deal with some few issues here before we start to pray. Verse number 19. "And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven." Now, I want you to see the link between earth and heaven as far as Peter was concerned in this verse. Say, "And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven." Now, in my mind, I hope you know that We are not, look, look, there is, sometimes I come to time like this and I'm just wondering, how do I say what is my mind? How do I convey my thoughts? Many things are running through my mind and I'm wondering which one, how, where, how do I put it? How do I place it for you to understand what we are talking about? Now, I know that where you talk about the kingdom, you are talking about the rulership. Okay? You're talking about those who are in charge. We have Nigeria. Nigeria has a kingdom. Not a kingdom, a government. Okay? If we talk about kingdom, now maybe we'll talk about United Kingdom, all right? Where we have a king who is the head of the government. Okay? Possibly that's where we have something that looks like what is being discussed here. We may not understand it in the light of the kind of system of government we run in Nigeria, which we call democracy, demonstration of craziness. I am not by that rubbishing democracy, but God is not a Democrat. He is not an autocrat either. However, but I tell you that he's a king, and he's the king. And Yoruba has that kind before the British came to disrupt the way we rule ourselves, the way we live, and everything. Yoruba calls an Oba Kabiosi, a man you cannot question, a man you cannot challenge. As a matter of fact, in eulogizing royal fathers in Yoruba land, they call them Alashe Ekeji Orisha. In fact, in your kingdom, the way they call Alaafin is so serious, they call Alaafin Iku Baba Yeye. His death is the father, is the mother. In other words, he has the power of life and death. Not now. Kings and royal fathers were highly venerated. They were highly respected. Nobody questions their authority. When the British wanted to meet Ooni and they asked him to come, he said Ooni does not travel out of Ife and he doesn't cross a river. They have to provide such that will convey. That was the power and the authority of the royal stool. They understood our style of government. They understood. I don't want to go there. It will take me to something else I don't want to touch at all, because that's not where I am going. What I am dealing with is that it was not giving. Jesus is not saying, I will give you the keys of heaven. I will give you the keys of the kingdom. And one day, few years back, I asked God, you mean you could take such a risk of giving the keys of the kingdom of heaven to a mortal man? Now, so I want you to understand, and I'm praying for you to understand why Peter must arise. That it's not just coming suddenly. There was a build-up. There was a time God recruited Peter as part of the council of heaven. And the keys of the kingdom of heaven, Jesus said, I will give it to you. And whatsoever. Now, this is what you call infinitum. This is without limit. whatsoever you bind on earth, heaven remains undecided until you decide. Until you bind it, we cannot bind. Until you lose it, we can't lose it. Because the keys of the kingdom are in your hand. Am I communicating at all? I want you to be alert. I told you the 6 o'clock hour prayer, the 9 o'clock of our prayer, they are critical for us in taking a leap. We have spent the first almost 24 hours to deal with the opening prayer, opening charge, and the burden of the meeting, so that we can be on the same page, so that we'll understand what God is about to do. There is a history, a pedigree. God started from a point with Peter. Peter had a relationship, and a long-standing relationship with Jesus, that connected the earth to heaven. And it was as though God was, permit me, toying with the ideas of making the headquarters to be on earth, whereas the operational base will be in heaven. Whatsoever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. And whatsoever. Whatsoever means whatsoever, anything. Anything you set free. No matter how much prayer could be going on, if you will not say it's free, it will remain bound. Whatsoever. Kingdoms, authority, power, thrones, nations, anything. Now, can I see the last verse? I think verse 20. Verse 20 is the next verse there, and possibly the last verse of that chapter. Then charged he his disciple that they should tell no man that it was Jesus, who please? The Christ. I may not be able to go there, but please take note that is Jesus the Christ. Whosoever believe that Jesus is the Christ is born of God. That's what I read in my Bible. That I won't go this route now, not because it's not important, but because I am building around why Peter must arise. So you will see that by the statement of Jesus, there is a link between heaven and earth, and the link was Peter. By the statement of Jesus, heaven depends largely on Peter's decision, and yet he was a mortal man. And yet he was a man that was not going to last forever. So I wasn't surprised down the line when Jesus had to commit that same key to the hand of the church. But I won't deal with that now. First, I'm interested in Peter. Many of us are here, our relationship with God did not start when we gave our life to Christ. That may sound odd. You might have been seeing traces of where God is taking you to right from when you were a young boy, a young girl. There are dreams, there are encounters, there were events, there were happenings that are pointing to the fact that God is taking you far beyond what anybody in your family lineage has ever known. And it is time for us to articulate that now. It's time for us to appropriate that, because it's time for God to bring out that which he has been cooking over the years in your life. Am I communicating? Now, it will be bad if the devil has succeeded in luring you away from the course that God has charted for you. It will be a very big tragedy if the devil has completely blindfolded you and make God so meaningless, so much so that he cannot reveal his mind to you again. So this was the first start. So if I take you a little bit further, and I bring you, I don't know whether I should read that now, and I bring you to the time when Herod vexed the church, and he was looking for certain of the church, got hold of James, and killed James, and the entire jury seemed to be satisfied with that event. The Bible said he stretched forth his hand and took Peter. Now, two things were running through my mind as I meditated over these issues. One, I wonder in my heart why Jesus prayed for Peter that his faith should not fail, and he didn't bother to pray for Judas Iscariot. I wonder in my heart why the church prayed for Peter and they didn't pray for James. You could give different reasons. You could allude. I don't, but I just think that, look, it is for the purpose of him arising. It is because if this man who holds the key, the solution, permits me, the tricks that will bring the Gentile world to Jesus is allowed to be crippled, the kingdom of heaven will be crippled. If this man was allowed to be killed, I wonder what happens to the kingdom of heaven. So in the can I say in the plan of God? Yes, maybe I should use the word the plan of God, but it's not, that's not the word I like to use right now. But for the purpose of this discourse, let me use the plan of God. In the plan of God, Peter had become a key man because the keys of the kingdom were in his hand. He held a very key position. And it's like, look, we may not be able to do anything if Peter does not allow us to do it. And so, if Judas should get lost, what will be lost? Maybe the treasury, the finance of the ministry. We have lost nothing. But if Peter should get lost, we have lost the keys of the kingdom. We have lost everything. So say, I have prayed for you that your faith fail not. There's somebody here in this meeting, the Lord is going to make you a key man. He's going to make you a key woman. Amen. And he will ensure that you will never get lost. Amen. James was an important person. And I'm not thinking that he's more important than Peter, except that the church didn't pray for him until Herod slaughtered him. But while Herod wanted to kill Peter during Easter, and he would have done it the following day, the church made prayer unto God on behalf of Peter. And that night, it was a miraculous deliverance. An angel came into the prison and smote Peter on his side. And can we just look at that scripture? I'm thinking, initially I was thinking maybe we should not read, but as it's coming, we should just take time to read. Okay? That now. Chapter 12. I want to permit me to read from verse 3. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered